fuck not. Let's... Fuck. I have to be careful this week. Because I was a dickhead and sliced me fucking thumb open. Like a genius.
Hello, and welcome to Max Level Games.
How's it going, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this week's installment of the Max Level Games podcast. I am your host, Mr. James Walters. To the returning listeners, hi, hello again, how's it going, how you been, how's the dog? And to the new listeners out there, this is a podcast where we're going to sit here for around about an hour and talk about games, films, TV, and other stuff too. We're on SoundCloud, YouTube, and we have an active Facebook page as well, so over at facebook.com/maxlevelgames. Go check that out, give it a like, give this a like, give everything a like, please, because it will really help us out. And last thing before we get into it, this is a mature podcast. You're going to hear some choice words on here, because we don't sugarcoat things around here, unless those things are donuts. So, you've been warned. Right, now all that's out of the way, let's begin this week's episode. Episode 21. If you were in the UK, 21 means you can now legally drink and, I think, buy alcohol. Like in shops and stuff. I think so, yeah. Yeah, 21, yeah. I'm not too caught up on all the age laws and stuff around here. Even though I live here, you never know. But yes, so, 21. That is a long time. So, unfortunately, I must admit, the first part of this podcast, for the new guys around, this is where we talk about games we played over the week, because we do play a lot of games around here. When I keep saying we as well, I should mention there usually is another man beside me, Mr. Liam Malkin. He could not be here this week due to scheduling conflicts, so we'll see him again soon. Don't worry about that. But yes, played games we played. So as I say, unfortunately, because of the sort of semi-hectic week I've had, I have not had much time to play games. I've barely got any further in Valkyria Chronicles, which is a game I've been playing more often than not. If you go back over the last 2 episodes, I'll talk more about it in depth. I'm not going to go much more into depth here because, as I say, I've beaten it to death as to what the game is. If you don't know what the game is by now, then you've got no hope. But I'm just getting further into it. As I say, I'm up to a point now in the story which I think is the end. I'm not certain. It feels very ending-like, so. But it's just everything in the vicinity is a bit more high level than me, so I'm gonna need to grind up a little bit to actually finish the game with minimal difficulties. But I did play a little bit of something else. So to give this story some background context, when I first got my PSVR headset for Christmas last year, because I'm a very, very fortunate young man, I received. No, I didn't receive. I downloaded because I realized they actually had it. I realized I downloaded. They had. Demo collections on the PlayStation Store. So they had 2 collections, the PSVR demos 1 and 2, as it's so aptly called. And on the first collection, I believed, I didn't like many things on the collection, which is a shame. But there was one that jumped out at me. That was a game called Wayward Sky. It was, and essentially what it boils down to is it's a point-and-click adventure game, but in VR. And I was like, okay, I'm not sure how that would work, because most times with VR games they lend themselves to the first person perspective. You think of Sprint Vector, that's a great VR game. Resident Evil 7, it's an amazing VR game. Various things like that. It sort of aims more towards being first person, but then the third person kind of games on VR, they're a bit smaller, a bit more tucked away, and I've played one previously called Light Tracer, which was a proper point-and-click platform or anything else. You'd direct the little girl using a beam of light, make a jump, attack enemies, all this kind of thing. I really enjoyed it. But this one, Wayward Sky, as I say, I played the demo, God, it must have been going back about 8 months or so now. And it's only just come on sale, because the way I look at games is, yeah, I like games. I will spend money on games. Obviously, that's kind of my life. But I set sort of realistic-esque price points for them. The Wayward Sky, I would argue, the price I paid for it this time around being about, what was it now, £6-7 in the UK. I'd say that's the most ideal price point for it. Just to be like sort of to what's the best way of putting it? To introduce players into a different kind of VR title, but the standard price is about £15, which is again nothing new. You know, you think borderline downloadable titles on PlayStation Store, you have those 15 to 20 quid price marks. So it's not an exuberant price, but it's still a bit higher than I would have paid. But either way, yes, I put it on sale. I've played, I think I've played so far just about the first chapter and a bit. I'm not sure. But it's fun, I'll say that much. It's definitely fun. It's different from Light Tracer because there's no platforming involved. Technically, you're not causing your character to jump or attack. You're essentially, if there's enemies on the board, you avoid them entirely, and you then solve puzzles. So for the most part, the puzzles are, well, at this early in the game, they're straightforward. You know, it's but what's interesting about them is when you say, for instance, there's one section where there's a giant shipping container in the way. It's got a hook on it, and there's a crane nearby. So 2 + 2 = 4. You enter the crane, and rather than just the character automatically doing the desired motions, you then go into the characters themselves and become the character, and your move controller hands will interact with the puzzle and obviously get the crane out of the way. You pull the levers, move it out of the way. Other things like that happen all the time. Like there was a standard pipe puzzle. Usually it involves getting water from one place to the other or electricity. That was like the first puzzle, I think, or like the second one. And that was just a case of, obviously, first person getting in there, turning the dials to where they need to be to get the current from one place to another. Bog standard stuff. So, as I say, so far, that's the kind of level it's at. The only other thing is, I've noticed there are collectibles of sorts. I don't know the sort of full breadth of what it's going to be at the end, but around certain like corners of the map that you wouldn't normally go to, you'll find wind chimes that have obviously the wind chimes not attached, and then you've got to pick them up, attach them to the chime overall, and then that's about it until you go back to the main menu and you see the progress you've got. I believe, looking at that progress bar, I'm not certain, there's roughly 4 chapters, maybe 5. So lengthwise, I'm not sure what to expect until I get properly into the game. There was another game I picked up on the sale as well, but I won't go into that until I've had time to properly play with it over the next week. So, excuse me, look forward to that. But as I say, unfortunately, yes, that is all I've been able to play this week. It's been a very hectic week, and as you may have seen the intro cut away, I'm an idiot and I sliced my thumb open. So playing with controllers has been a bit tender, shall we say. It's not unusable, but it's just a bit like, you press the thumbstick a bit too hard, trying to run away, and it's like, ow, son of a bitch. But I guess, I wasn't going to mention it, but there was a couple other things I played, but they're not really new games. They're just I dabbled in older games, specifically my Toys to Life games. So for those of you who know me, I'm a big fan of the Toys to Life genre. I've played all the Skylanders. I've played Disney Infinity, all 3 of them as well, and Lego Dimensions. So I've sort of covered the big 3. I don't do amiibos because I don't really. The only Nintendo system I have is a Switch, and I don't see the point in amiibos other than the collectability value. But that's topic for another time. There is a new one coming out soon, actually. I think it's called like Starlink or something, which is the fighter plane things. I might have a look into that when it comes out, but other than that, I've been playing a bit of those games, primarily because the last Skylanders game that came out, Imaginators, which is up there in terms of my favourite of the series. I still kind of think Superchargers was better in my opinion, but not like definitively the one you should go to. But that's by the by again. I kind of went into Imaginators because of the whole creating your own character element. I thought, you know what, that was kind of fun. Even though the options are like quite set in motion, it was quite fun. So I'll dive back in, relive the cringe that is the characters I made over 2 years ago, and be like, yeah, we need to fix this up. So I did. Sat down with my missus, and we changed all the characters to something significantly better and significantly less cringe. So, but I also realized as well that what people said back in the day was true. The crystals themselves are set. You cannot reset them. There is a roundabout way to reset them. People have found out, but I don't really care that much to go about that long-winded way to reset these characters, so that's just not going to happen. But the other Toys Live gameplay was, like I say, LEGO Dimensions. I jumped back into that primarily because, and this is the thing, I'm going to go on a little rant right now before I carry on. Right, LEGO Dimensions, Telltale Games, not Telltale, Traveller's Tales Games, the guys who make LEGO and ultimately cancel LEGO Dimensions. I get that, okay? It wasn't the most viable income. The sets were a little bit on the expensive side. The game itself, riddled with bugs, absolutely riddled. I'm pretty sure the Wii U game, even though no one plays the Wii U, but the Wii U version of the game was practically unplayable. But look, you can't. The last couple of sets to release, i.e. the Teen Titans Go sets, with the Team Pack character of Raven and Beast Boy, you can't just cancel the game and not meet the demand that would be required for that set. Because, for those who don't know, in the game, there are certain points where you need certain very specific characters to do certain actions. And Raven is one of them. She opens like a wormhole thing to get past obstacles. For the longest time, I couldn't complete certain parts of the game because I didn't have Raven, and going back to it recently to try and find a Raven figure that wasn't stupidly priced was really difficult, like ridiculously difficult. I just about managed to find one on eBay, thankfully, which was the full set. It wasn't boxed, obviously, but I don't care about a box as long as a figure comes in it and it works. So far, it does. So I did that. So that's my rant. Don't cancel a game and then basically scrap all the things you need as well. And that same goes for Skylanders, because there's 10 elements in the game, 10 different types of characters you can get, element-wise. And with the Imaginator game, you have the element crystals and the Imaginite inside to create a character of the various classes in that game as well. I have 9 out of 10 because the last one, the Dark Crystal, trying to find an individual Dark Crystal these days is ridiculously priced. Like, frankly, when the game came out, I thought that a £10 price mark for a crystal was a bit steep, but I'd be willing to pay it because, again, at the end of the day, it is your own thing you can make. But trying to find a single dark element crystal now, you're looking at like £60 odd, maybe 70 at a push, and I'm like, that is ridiculous. That is actually stupid. That is definitely not worth the money you're getting for it. I know it's a bit of a collector's item, but fucking hell, at the end of the day, it's a fucking piece of toy for a game, and it's just like, no kid is going to want to pay that. No parent of a child is going to want to pay that. But there are roundabout ways of getting a Dark Crystal now that are significantly cheaper and better value for money, i.e. The multi-packs. They released a multi-pack version, which was like 8 different element crystals, and Dark is included in that set. You can pick that up on Amazon UK for about $49.99, so that's sort of the better value for it, because as I say, at launch they were all like £10 each. You're getting 8 in a pack, so what should have been £80 is actually like half, so, well, around about half, so yeah. But yes, as I say, rant over. That's why I dived back into LEGO Dimensions, because I wanted to see it through to the end, shall we say. I haven't done that yet, of course, because building Lego is also difficult when you've got a fucking a thumb with a giant's cut on it. So, I mean, I'm not even exaggerating with the cut. You can't see it if you're listening on the podcast, but on the video right now, let me just make sure it's not going to go out of focus on me. I mean, it doesn't look like much, but it's pretty deep. You can see on the camera there. What essentially happened was, it's human instinct when something is falling to try and catch it. You don't want to let it hit the ground. You shouldn't do that when it's a samurai sword that is falling to the ground. So I went to grab it, didn't realise, sliced my thumb wide open, and I could see inside my own thumb, which was pretty gross, not gonna lie. And then while I was mesmerised by the sight of my own thumb, just blood started gushing out. So it was a bit of a really strange day to spend bank holiday here in the UK. But as I say, we'll move on now to enough of my rambling. We'll move on now to the important part of the podcast, the biggest parts of the podcast, and that is the news section of the podcast. So, again, for those who don't know, This time, we have like 3 sections, usually 4, sometimes 5. And this next part, the next big part, is we get into the news, the biggest stories of the week, or at least the stories that I think are important that people need to know about over the week since the last podcast. The first section of news is about film and television news, and then we get into the game news, and then that is pretty much it, unless there are extra things to talk about, but there's not this week, spoiler alert. So the film news this week. So the first piece, it's a bit of a double-edged sword. It brings me, no pun intended, it brings me no great pleasure to admit this, but at the same time, I'm glad we finally have official word on this. And for those of you who probably know what I'm going to talk about, by going from what I've just said, it's to do with the whole James Gunn firing thing from Disney and Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Because up until now, since the firing, it's just been a case of, oh, reports have said this and reports have said that, and we still have no official word from Disney. Well, now we do have official reports on what is going on. So, unfortunately, James Gunn is still fired. That's not getting changed anytime soon. And the status of Guardians of the Galaxy 3, it is officially on hold. Which is quite ironic because the other day I was watching a Watch Mojo video. It was like lists films that it's going to blow everyone away in 2020, and Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was on there. I just gave a little giggle. I was like, haha, no, it's not. Although, to be fair, it could change in between now and January where they wanted to start production. But as for now, it is really on hold for now. The script hasn't been finalised. They can't do pre-production, and there's no location scouting because, as I say, they don't have a director. And you know it's sort of official when they've had to let all the actors know and all the crew involved know that nothing's going to happen of it. So you might as well go out and look for other jobs in the time to space to fill it up. So, excuse me. It's how do I put this? It's really awkward for Disney now because if they say they happen to find a director in the next 2, 3, maybe in a month's time, in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or a month's time, they could maybe like get it together quick enough to start production in January, like they were supposed to. But if those actors and crew find new jobs in the time that they've contracted to, that's still going to keep Disney. They're still going to keep Guardians 3 on hold. So, like, Chris Pratt is a pretty big name at the minute. So if he finds something else in the time frame to sign on to, then he's going to be taken up with that, and so Guardians 3 will still be delayed regardless. So, but either way, the main gist of what I'm trying to get at here is that, yes, unfortunately, Guardians 3 is delayed. We're going to have to wait even longer to see what happens after the events of Avengers 4, and we still have to find out what happens in Avengers 4 just yet. So, but moving on, we're keeping with Disney news briefly, because Disney, they've talked a lot about how their acquisition of Fox is gonna sort of give them a big boost to open their own streaming service, or how at least they want to open their own streaming service with Disney's own content. So it'll be Disney, it'll be Marvel, it'll be Star Wars, that kind of thing. It'll be all the Fox properties soon when they get on there. But I've learned something recently, and I thought this was pretty interesting to everyone to know about the Disney streaming service and how seriously they are going to take this streaming service. So I don't know. It's not about when it's going to launch. It's hopefully going to launch sometime between now and next year, obviously. But the way the Disney are going to treat this streaming service and how much they're going to commit to it it goes as such. So when films come out, especially superhero films these days come out in cinemas, they usually have a runtime in the cinemas about 6 to 8 weeks, sometimes longer depending if it's a big film like Infinity War was. So what Disney are sort of looking to do with their own streaming service come next year is, after the theatrical release of a film, i.e. Captain Marvel, this is the first one they're going to do it with. It's going to be a very big experiment for them. As soon as Captain Marvel has finished its run in cinemas for 6 to 8 weeks, it will be available on the streaming service, like, almost immediately, which really gives Disney's streaming service, by the way, which is also at the minute codenamed Disney Play, that gives it a huge advantage, like ridiculously so. If they're doing it with other Disney properties as well as after Captain Marvel, if Captain Marvel is successful, then that gives them like a huge lead, a huge advantage on I guess as a streaming service. Because, you know, Infinity War came out April 27th here in the UK. It's only just going to come out on Blu-ray and home video and stuff in, I think it's actually a few more weeks now, actually. It's actually started next month. So that's a wide time frame. That's like, April, May, June, July. That's like 4 or 5 months. If this works and Captain Marvel comes out on Disney's own streaming service on Disney Play within like 2 months, that's gonna drive a lot of traffic to their service, which again is supposed to launch sometime next year. I think that's absolutely brilliant, to be fair. I know that if that is the case and it actually works out and that's what they're going to do with from here on out, then I actually will sign up for the service, depending on the price, of course. So that's all we know on it for now. But I just thought it was really interesting for people to know that, like, waiting for your favourite superhero films might not be as long anymore. Like, if you missed the theatrical run of the film for whatever reason, if you have the streaming service, you won't have to wait long at all. It'll be there for you, and you can watch it in the comfort of your own home. You know, take your shoes off, lie down, sit on the couch, whatever you want to do, and enjoy the latest Marvel movie. So, yeah. The next one isn't so much news, but it's sort of interesting, especially because of my disdain for this film. But I'll give you some context in a minute. So, Deadpool 2 came out not long after Infinity War. That's also coming out soon on DVD and Blu-ray and such next month. There was some concept art talked about recently, or at least shown off recently, of the Fantastic Four, of all people, but not like the older Fantastic Four with Chris Evans and all the rest of them like that, but the newer Fantastic, which was a god-awful movie. I highly suggest no one go watch it. That was the kind of film that I said to people, don't go watch it in cinemas, and I was like, maybe if it comes out on DVD at like a $5, I'd consider it. But then upon further reflection, I was like, you know what? No, don't even waste your money on that either. And then it became on streaming services. I was like, no, it's still really. If you want to watch a film that is so poorly made that you could see the fucking inconsistency cuts and shots within seconds of each other, then yeah, by all means, go watch Fantastic. But otherwise, just don't waste an hour and a half of your time. You will never get that back. So, but that's not the point here. The point here is the concept art for Deadpool 2 showed off the Fantastic Four in like these all brand new suits and everything like that, because the way it goes is that Deadpool was going to kill them. He was going to kill them off. He was actually going to go ahead and they were going to make an appearance and they were going to get killed off as a joke. Although it would be if they did that would have been the funniest joke in the film, because as I say, the film was fucking awful. So obviously it didn't make it into the film, as we all know if we've seen Deadpool 2. So that's a shame, but at the end of the day, the less we have to see of those Fantastic Four, the better. So, aye. So, next piece is to do with more. We'll keep them with the Marvel section right now, sort of. This is Sony's Marvel and Venom. Now, I need to clarify that this first piece is a correction piece of news, something I've talked about previously on the podcast. Venom is not yet rated. It does not yet have a rating like a PG-13 or an R rating thing. I think what it actually is in the past when we talked about it is that it was it's something that people want to be an R-rated film, so you'd have all the blood and guts and violence and you'll see Venom eat people, but the last thing we talked about was how it's looking more like it'd be rated PG-13, which would play to its benefit because you would open up the market that bit more. Like there's a whole like 5 years worth of age range there you could fit into the cinema. But the guy who directed it, he's been asked recently about the rating and stuff, to say that obviously there is no rating yet. I think what they were saying is that it looks more like it will be a PG-13, but it will be like they're going to push the limits of PG-13, so it's basically like borderline R rating, because the filmmakers themselves have said they don't think it will get an R rating. So, which is, as I say, is at the same time it's kind of a shame because, you know, you don't get the true gory Venom that you would hope for like you do in the comics. But it will open it up more to a bigger audience, and hopefully, if the film doesn't suck and it makes some decent money, we'll see more Venom. Because, moving into the next piece of news, Tom Hardy, who's playing Eddie Brock / Venom, his contract actually covers 3 Venom movies. Now, whether that's specifically movies about Venom or 3 movies where he gets to play Venom, so kind of like how it is in the MCU, then that could open up more doors to introducing more characters, because as we say, everyone wants Carnage. That is just a fact between fans of this film and fans of Venom in general. We want to see a live action Carnage because that would be fucking cool. Obviously at the minute there are no plans for a sequel, so his contract is just kind of sitting here for now. As I say, they're waiting to see what Venom does and how Venom does, because Sony's whole plans of all these other films, like the Black Cat film, the Silver Sable film, the Morbius film, the other feckin' films they've got planned, all of these movies hinge on Venom's success. Because if Venom doesn't do well, we're going to have another situation like back in the Amazing Spider-Man days where they're like, oh, we're going to make an Aunt May film and a Sinister Six film and another Venom film, but not this Venom film, a different Venom film. And then obviously Amazing Spider-Man 2 comes out, bombs, and everyone's like, yeah, so Disney, do you guys want Spider-Man for a bit? We can't get this right. So yeah, that's all there is on that, unfortunately. But moving on from Marvel, we're going to go into DC a little bit, because we have a little bit of DC news here. The first two pieces are casting news for DC. The first one is quite big in a way, I'd say. It's very shocking, almost even. The Joker film is set to start filming in a few weeks. The Joker, I should specify, the Joaquin Phoenix Joker film, the Joker origin film, that's set to start filming soon, with a release date of October 7th, 2019, something like that, early October 2019. There's been a lot of talks about who's going to be in the film. I think Robert De Niro was rumoured to be in the film. Zazie Beetz, who played Domino in Deadpool 2, she's supposed to be in the film. Obviously, Joaquin Phoenix is playing the Joker. But today's casting news is that Alec Baldwin is going to be in the film. The only difference between this piece of news and the other casting suggestions is that we have an actual character here for who Alec Baldwin is playing, and it's Thomas Wayne. Batman's father, Mr. Thomas Wayne. This is all according to the Hollywood Reporter, and they've also specified that he's not going to be the kind of Thomas Wayne that fans are used to. He's going to be very different. I think one outlet reported on it saying that he's going to be kind of like a tanned, cheesy businessman, almost akin to Donald Trump. So, I really don't know how to think about that personally, because, well, frankly, other than the Batman continuity where Thomas Wayne is Batman, his character has sort of, well, I don't know, I should probably preface this, I don't know that much about all the Batman comics, so there could be a version of Thomas Wayne out there that is this cheesy businessman, I don't know, but the only versions I know are, well, just the fact that he was a good guy, and for the most part in the Batman storyline, and obviously Telltale's version of Batman where he and Martha were actually criminal overlords kind of thing. So, but that's, again, by the by, we'll see how that film comes out when it comes out next year. We'll hopefully get some set images and promotional pictures sometime soon, because I above all else want to see how this Joker's going to look. So, and how Joaquin Phoenix is going to work with it. So we'll see how that goes. The next piece of DC casting news is to do with the Batman film, which we still have no idea when that's coming out, when it's going to start filming, or most anything just yet. But Oscar Isaac is going to be in the film. Not sure who he's playing yet, but Oscar Isaac is going to be in the film. Oscar Isaac, he played Poe Dameron in Star Wars, well, the newest Star Wars movies. He was in, he was in that indie film with the robot. God, what was it called now? But he played the creator of the robot in that film. I've not actually seen it myself, so I can't really comment. And he was also in the X-Men Apocalypse film as Apocalypse, which, he's actually a really good actor. I do enjoy his work. I just feel like with that film as a whole, he was dealt a bad hand. He did the best he could with it. So, let's just leave that at that. But either way, he's going to be in the Batman movie. Not sure who he's playing. I don't think he's playing Batman, because there's still a bit of umming and ahhing as to who is Ben Affleck going to be Batman in this film? Is it going to be a different Batman, like a younger one? We still don't know just yet. But there's been a lot of talk about villains. I think Two-Face has been mentioned once or twice. The Penguin's been mentioned a lot. I think Penguin is almost confirmed to be in the film, but we might see another villain appearance. So maybe he could be like a Harvey Dent Two-Face kind of thing, or even a Riddler. That could be quite fun. We only really have Jim Carrey's Riddler film-wise, and then we have the Arkham game version of Riddlers and the cartoons and stuff, which are all very campy and over the top, except the Arkham games, which are a bit more gritty. So I could see Oscar Isaac playing a bit of a gritty, sadistic, not sadistic, but psychotic version of the Riddler. So that could be fun. As I say, no official word on who he's playing yet, but we'll hopefully find out soon, as soon as we know more about the Batman film. And the last piece of DC news is to do with the DC Universe subscription service that we talked about like a few weeks ago, and how they were announcing it and all these live action shows they're going to put on there and comics and all kinds of good stuff. It still has no information of a European release, so everything I'm about to tell you now is for the US only. It's just for the US. So unfortunately, us UK residents can't get our hands on this service just yet. But they are going to bring it to Europe and the UK eventually. Probably see how it does in the US first, but that's not the point. The point is, it is officially going to launch on the 15th of September this year. And the first show that's going to debut, one of their first like original content kind of productions, it is the first live action series of Titans. The whole first season. I think the way it's been said, or at least the way I read it and the way it was worded, it makes it sound as though they're going to dump all 12 episodes, but then at the same time, I think what they're actually going to do is the series itself is going to consist of 12 episodes, and they're going to release them each week. So say it comes out on a Friday, you'll have a new episode of Titans every Friday on the DC Universe streaming service. The first 2 seasons of Young Justice will also be available like immediately, straight off the bat. Actually, no, I should say Titans will debut on the 12th of October. It won't be there straight away. But immediately, as soon as the service launches in September, you'll get the first 2 seasons of Young Justice. And the third season, I think it's called, the third season of it, called Outsiders, that's coming next year. There will be comics as well, as we've said. There's like a comic section of the subscription service too. You will get some comics on launch as well. And those will be the first appearance issues of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. So, price point wise, the service will be $8 a month, and if you want it, you can also buy an annual subscription, which is like $75, which probably works out a bit cheaper. I think that's kind of like the same as Netflix. I'm not actually sure about Netflix's prices. I think it's around about the same price, although as I say, pounds to dollars is different. So there we go. That's DC Universe's streaming service and how they're going to do it. We have some other news about streaming services a bit later on, but right now we're going to talk about other things other than superheroes, like space and Star Wars. This is sort of the only real piece of Star Wars news we have, to be honest. So, essentially, they're talking about Episode 9, which is due to come out, I believe it's December 20th, 2019, so we've still got a while to go on that yet, and I think they may have started filming already now. I'm not entirely certain. But a bit of casting news for it. Allegedly, Matt Smith, the 11th Doctor, is going to be in the film as a quote-unquote key role. Now, could that be a hero or a villain? We have no idea. We know absolutely nothing. In fact, at the minute, I'm not even sure if it's fully confirmed that Matt Smith is going to be in the film. I think it's just a case of it's being reported that he's been cast in the film, but as an official word, I haven't seen an official word, so take that with a grain of salt. But that could be pretty fun, Matt Smith in Star Wars Episode 9. See, really, Doctor Who-wise, it's only really been him and David Tennant that I've seen sort of go off into the films and other projects after Doctor Who. David Tennant especially, we see him in a lot of things these days. Matt Smith had a role in the last Terminator film, which I haven't seen. But other than that, he's been pretty quiet, I guess. Maybe he's just not he's obviously had The Crown, is it, as well, on Netflix. He's been in that. He's been in one of those Queen Victoria-esque shows, but that's all we've got him in. But he could be in Star Wars Episode 9. So hopefully we'll find out an official word on that, and then obviously the film comes out next year, and hopefully it's better than Episode 8, let's just say that. Well, to be fair, I thought Episode 8 was just decent. It was okay. A lot of people hate it. I just thought it was kind of middle of the road. So, but that's my opinion on the matter. The next piece is about the streaming service. Here we go, and the other piece after that. But this is a new streaming service. This is a brand new streaming service, and actually around here, give me a second. I have notes properly on the matter. So, Nickelodeon. It's a series. It's a program channel we all love from our childhood. They had some of the best content on there. Going, fight me on this. They are launching their own streaming service, sort of. It's part of an aggregational site called VRV, which is unfortunately right now only a US-based service. They are planning to become it to other regions, but right now it is just in the US. So Nickelodeon are going to launch their own streaming service on VRV called Nick Splat, and it's going to have so many old school cartoons and stuff on it. I've actually got a list here of some of the stuff that's going to be there on launch, I believe, and it's going to be like a rotating system, kind of like Netflix. So we have Real Monsters, Doug, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Cat Dog's going to be on there, which is a great show. Rocko's Modern Life, also a great show. Angry Beavers, The Amanda Show, all that. Hey Dude, Kablam, Legends of the Hidden Temple, Keenan and Kel is going to be there too. Chalk Zone, Salute Your Shorts, Nickelodeon Arcade, The Wild Thornberries, Nickelodeon's Guts, and sorry, it's a very small title. The Mystery Files of Shelby Woo. So if any of those titles jumped out at you, then you know you got that to look forward to. That you get to stream those on VRV eventually. There is an app as well you can watch on. But again, it's all US based at the minute, and this. Well, actually, technically, it's all out now. The streaming service. It came out on the 28th. So if you're a US listener and a US citizen, you have a VRV account, I guess, or you can use VRV. You can now use Nick Splat and watch all those old school cartoons to your heart's content. You can buy the Nick Splat channel, I think it is, on VRV for $5.99 per month, or if you get the premium bundle, which I assume has like a bunch of channels involved, which is £10 a month, it's included in that too. So you lucky US bastards. You've got Disney, you've got DC Universe, and you've got Nickelodeon, Nick Splat as well. And in all likelihood, the Disney's own streaming service will launch first in the US as well. So frankly, you're all too lucky. I kind of want to live in the US now because you get all the best things first, you lucky buggers. And the last piece of news to do with streaming services is to do with Netflix. Now, I haven't watched this show, but I know a lot of people really like it. So, Gravity Falls, its creator, Alex Hirsch, has signed a deal with Netflix. It's a multi-year deal, according to Variety, and it's going to be content exclusively for Netflix. So, probably a few things, maybe like a few cartoon shows and a few other features, but it's just, he's going to make more stuff for Netflix. So if you're a big fan of Gravity Falls and the kind of storytelling and kind of art style, I guess, then you've got that to look forward to in the coming years or months, or whatever it is, from Netflix and Alex Hirsch. So, yeah. And finally, let's talk about the game news, the best part of this week. The game news, not always the most lengthy part, unfortunately. Sometimes the gaming news is like either really dull or just there's not much there going. But this week we have a fair chunk to talk through, so let's go do that. The first piece we should always talk about, being that it's the last week of August, is the free games that we get next month. So, we have the Xbox games with Gold. They were announced previously, and the September's PS Plus games have also been announced too. So, first of all, let's go through PS Plus. So, this September, on the PS4, we're going to get Destiny 2, which is a pretty big game. In fact, it's so big, it's available right now. You don't even have to wait for the first Tuesday of the month, which I think this month falls on the 4th, September the 4th. You don't even have to wait for that. So you can go with Destiny 2 right now, right ahead of its newest launch, Forsaken. It's called the Forsaken DLC, where Cade gets killed or something. I don't know, I've not played. I've played Destiny 2. I finished it and I just got rid of it because I had no interest to go back and just keep doing things. So I mean, it's a pretty good game, but it's just okay, really. It's okay if you're into that kind of thing. Then by all means, keep playing it. But me, I've played it once and I'm good. The other game we're getting, which is a pretty big one, I expect this to come sooner, but it's still pretty good. God of War 3, the remastered version, is on PS4. It would have made more sense for it to come out ahead of God of War's actual release back in, oh god, when did it come out now? It was like March, wasn't it? Or April? May? One of those. It was quite early this year. It was really good game. Really good game. I was surprised this didn't come out as a free game the month before, but no, it's coming out now. Probably because a lot of people played the new God of War and was like, I really want to see about other God of War games, so here we go. God of War 3 PS4 is coming out on, PS Plus this September. We also have the PS3 titles, which are Another World, the 20th Anniversary Edition. I'm not sure what kind of game this is. And Cube Director's Cut. Again, not sure what kind of game it is. And the PS Vita also get Foul Play and Sparkle 2. Now, the good thing about all these titles, though, all these extra games that we don't know really much about, the PS3 and PS Vita titles, sometimes they're cross-platform play with PS4, but this month, all of them are cross-platform play with PS4. So effectively, you are getting 6 free PS4 games this month. Or you could say 8, because last month they said how Here They Lie for PSVR and Knowledge is Power, which is a PlayLink game, they're going to be available for a while. And yes, they are still available now, obviously. So effectively this month, PS Plus, we have 8 games to choose from. So I think that's really fucking good and definitely worth the money that you pay for your PS Plus subscription. And obviously, technically, yes, I have played both of these games, but God of War 3 Remastered, I haven't played the remastered version, so that could be fun. Plus, it's God of War, so of course I'm going to fucking play it. As for Xbox, on the Xbox side of things, Xbox gains with gold for September. On the Xbox One, you'll be getting Prison Architect and Livestock. I believe Prison Architect is like a bit of a building kind of thing. I've only seen like bits of footage for it. So yeah, there's that. And then on 360, as well as backwards compatible, you'll be getting Lego Star Wars 3, The Clone Wars, and Sega Vintage Collection Monster World, which is probably just an old school Sega game that's on current gen platforms. As for Lego Star Wars 3, that is one of the Lego games I have played. Not one that I finished because it was just kind of meh, really. It was that pre-Lego Batman 2 kind of game where it was just okay, I think. Actually, was it pre-Lego Batman 2? Yeah, I'm sure it was, actually, yeah. I don't think they talked in it, but that's by the by. So yeah, that's it for the announcements-wise. PS Plus and Xbox games with gold this month. Pretty good month. I'd say a pretty good month, in total. Another announcement is a new game. Well, a game for, I think it's already out on Steam, but it's coming to PlayStation, it's coming to PS4, Switch, and Xbox on the 18th of September, and that's a game called Hover. I didn't know about this at all. I saw it on my subscription feed, added to the list. I gave it a little watch before the podcast started. It's basically, I don't know basically, but when I looked at it, my first thought was Jet Set Radio. It looks like it plays the exact same as Jet Set Radio, except without the tagging and stuff. There's a big open world. There's sort of a parkour element to it as well. You can either play it online or offline. I'd highly recommend going to check out the trailer for this game. It does actually look pretty good. I'm not sure how much it's going to launch for price-wise, but as we discussed earlier, these games typically launch for around $15.99, sometimes $20, sometimes cheaper. So hopefully it'll be good. It does look pretty good. I'm definitely intrigued by it. So yeah, as I say, that comes out on the 18th of September, 2018. We're going to get into... It brings me no great pleasure to admit these. We've got 2 stories now that are not the best stories. They're kind of like, oh god, stories. The first is to do with the 500 million edition, limited edition PS4 Pro that was announced and released only a couple of weeks ago now. It's completely gone. Which is no shock to anyone. You release a PS4 Pro with 2TB hard drive with it's a limited edition to 50,000 units. It's completely gone. In the European section, at least, it was gone within a day. And obviously it's come out in America now, so it's completely gone there too. A lot of people aren't very happy though, and understandably so, because I think a lot of these systems have just been scalped, which is a term. It's another term I've heard, because I also heard scrappers last time as well, or something like that, and scalpers. Basically, the people who buy it just to sell it on and make some money. The dickheads of the world, essentially, because it's really annoying that these people exist, because obviously the 500 million PS4 Pro was not a very cheap system to go with. I think it was around about £450, $500 at launch. Obviously very limited supply, so if you missed it, you missed it. These people went out and bought it at this price just to sell it on even more for stupidly exorbitant prices, and I think personally that's just really scummy. You've just so you can make a quick buck on something, you've deprived someone who actually really did want this system, probably saved a bit of money to buy this system. And now they can't, because you're scum, and you want to fucking try and make a couple grand on these systems, because some of these systems are going for like thousands of pounds and thousands of dollars on eBay and stuff now, and I think that's just ridiculous. I don't think anyone out there should buy these systems off these people, because they don't deserve to have these systems sold on to someone else. They should just completely boycott them. Any listing like that you see should be immediately ignored. Don't go as far to report it, because they're not really doing anything wrong technically. Just, mentally or like emotionally it's wrong. But yes, that is the story. Unfortunately, the 500 million PS4 is gone, so if you've missed out, which is a shame. I had no intention to buy it anyway, but for those people out there who would have been excited to buy the system, unfortunately you've missed out. So, and the next piece of news, which is a bit more dark-ish or saddening, is to do with Nintendo. Now, recently Nintendo have gone on like a bit of a lawsuit-happy thing where they tried to get rid of like ROMs and emulators and stuff on the internet, which I don't think worked out very well at all. But now they've gone after Pokemon fan games. They've filed a copyright claim against a very infamous, if you like, Pokemon fan game creation tool called Pokemon Essentials, and its affiliate website, Pokemon Essentials Wiki. It was built back in 2007. It's been used to make some of the biggest Pokemon fan games around. Like, you probably find loads of fan games out there that have been built by this program. And unfortunately, Nintendo decided that they don't want anyone to make any more fan games via it. So, or at least they're going to try and do that, because although the official site is gone, you're more likely to still find you'll find the file and program and all the essential bits you need on like file sharing sites, so probably stuff like Mega Upload and all kinds of things like that, or maybe even Pirate Bay. You know, the less than legal sites to find these things, which is a shame. As I say, I don't understand, and I do and I do not understand Nintendo's stance on fan creations and fan games in general to do with their IPs, because at the end of the day, it's just people wanting to express their own love and interest for a franchise. And you know, it's not like, I'm pretty sure with all these fan games, the sort of like, it's not, I don't know if it's a requirement, but like, it's kind of etiquette with fan games that you specified this has nothing to do with Nintendo. They aren't making this game, they haven't licensed the fan game. It's just you create it in your own time, off your own back, because you enjoy the franchise. So it's just a shame that something like this has happened. But at the end of the day, I can understand Nintendo's side of things, because they don't want people to get confused with the plethora of fan games out there and think that those are official Pokemon titles when they're not, especially because some of them have semi-darker storylines than you'll find in the actual Pokemon games. But that's just my opinion on the matter. But moving on, and you know, increasing the joy of this podcast a little bit more, news-wise. The PS Store, we've talked previously about a sort of leaked update for the PlayStation Store keyboard and search functions, where they're getting rid of the scrolling letters in favor of a keyboard, which would be much better to find games on the store. It'd be much better. Excuse me. The apparently it was going to be part of the 6.0 update, which is the next big PS4 firmware update. But apparently no, it's already out now. I haven't had a chance to go and check on it myself on my own PlayStation, but the update for it is apparently live already, like right now. So go ahead and download it. You can search on the PlayStation Store a lot more efficiently than you could before. And that's all there is to say on that matter. Until 6.0 comes out, we have no idea on the other functions and stuff. Obviously, the rumours at the minute are saying how there will be name changes, which is something people have wanted for a long time. There's also talk of backwards compatibility, which, if that's the case, that'd be fucking amazing. But we'll have to wait and see on that one again. Moving on now to actual game, like news about games. Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, which for those of you who don't know is the next Soulsborne style game from Software. It's due out to come out next year, I believe. It's been compared by the creators. It's been compared in terms of scale, so how big the game is. It's being compared to Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne. So those the two latest games from Software, which you have to pause every time you say that. Having played a bit of both of them, I can tell that those are fucking huge games. I have a friend who is a big fan. I didn't reach out to him for comment on this because I didn't really think to do that until this very moment. But people who know these games and are a fan of these games will know that those two games are pretty big. So if Sekiro Shadows Die Twice is going to be as big, if not bigger than them, I think people have got stuff to look forward to with From Software's new game. So when that comes out sometime next year. But a game that's coming out this year, and in fact coming out soon, I believe. I think actually, I've not got a calendar in front of me, but I think it's next Saturday? Is it Saturday? No, next Friday. Next Friday, being the 7th of September, we're getting Spider-Man PS4, or as it's sort of been officially, quote-unquote, called, Marvel's Spider-Man. Now, we've had two bits of story to talk about today. The first is they've made comments on how long the main game is. There were questions on Twitter about the game length, and they said that playtesters have taken about 20 hours to finish the main game, but that's not accounting for the side quests and challenges and all kinds of various things you can do in the world. So the main game itself, if you were to just go from story mission to story mission, not bother with anything else, you would get about 20 hours out of this game, which I think is that's a fair amount. for a game. As I say, if you go for the base story quests and sod everything else on the sidelines, which people don't typically do with open world games, but there are those out there who do, you'll get about 20 hours out of the game. Still nothing about New Game Plus or anything like that. So, but what we do have, and this is the next piece of story news, is DLC. The DLC schedule. We knew there was gonna be DLC for a while. It was talked about when they revealed the collector's edition for the game. You will get like a bit of a season pass thing for the DLC when it comes out. What we have now is a schedule for the DLC. The community director of Insomniac Games, James Stevenson, has revealed that the first DLC is titled The City That Never Sleeps. It's going to be in 3 parts, 3 chapters. The first chapter is called The Heist, and it's coming out on the 23rd of October. As you can probably guess from the first title of the first chapter, it's about Black Cat, and it's about Felicia Hardy, and it's going to focus in on her. Now, whether it's going to introduce her to the Marvel Spider-Man game, or we're going to see her in the main game as is obviously yet to be seen until the game comes out. But yeah, the DLC will focus on her. That'll be the first chapter. There'll also be new enemy faction to deal with, which obviously right now means not much until you play the fucking game. So we'll see on that matter. Parts 2 and 3 are called Turf Wars, which is due out in November, and Silver Lining, which is coming out in December. So basically, the next 3 months or so, we'll be able to keep going back to Spider-Man, because it looks like it's going to be so good. I honestly cannot wait for this game. The only other game that I'm more anticipated for this year is Spyro, which unfortunately now is in November as opposed to September. But I'll happily wait that a bit longer if it means getting that game right. So, as well as obviously the new factions and focusing on Felicia Hardy, there will be new story missions, new challenges, and new suits to unlock in the game. So look forward to that when Spider-Man comes out next Friday. That is weird. I can't believe it's actually out next Friday. I don't have I used to have a calendar in front of me to clarify these things, but unfortunately I don't have that anymore, so I can't. Just going off of my own date knowledge right now. No, actually yes, I have a calendar in front of me on my computer. Completely forgot. It is the 7th of September is next Friday. So as of tomorrow, Marvel's Spider-Man for the PS4 will only be out in a week, and that excites me greatly. I cannot wait for that fucking game. So, moving on slightly, we're going to go from PlayStation to Xbox briefly, because there is something for the Xbox fans that should be mentioned right now. Halo the Master Chief Collection, which was a game came out, I think, only a year or so into the Xbox One's life cycle. It had a bit of a rough launch, because from what I remember, the multiplayer was a mess. I think load times were stupid. There was a lot of glitches as well. It basically launched very poorly, as far as I remember. I could be wrong. Please correct me if I am. But that game is receiving a very big update that is actually out now. It came out on 28th. It's out there now. It's 73 gigabytes in size, which is a fucking big update. 73 gigabytes. But what it involves is it's going to revamp the multiplayer matchmaking system, so that's going to be fixed. It's also going to add 4K and HDR support for the Xbox One X users out there. It's going to decrease the load times, so it won't take so long to get into the fucking game. And it will also add offline LAN support, which I'm not 100% as to what that means, but the best of my knowledge, that just means if you wanted to play on a few systems in a house, not using the Wi-Fi or going across the world and stuff. I think that's what it means. Correct me if I'm wrong, or just correct me in general, because as I say, it's not really something I'm familiar with. But as I say, this all comes because the game itself is going to be available on Xbox Game Pass starting the 1st September. So on Saturday, as of Saturday, the Halo Master Chief Collection will be available for Game Pass owners. So ahead of its launch, you can download this. Well, not ahead of its launch, but if you have the game already, you can download this huge update. If you're getting the game as part of Game Pass on the 1st, you will have this huge update to go with it. So be aware of that. Dedicate some time to your system to leave it on while downloading this fucking huge update. So next up, and the penultimate piece of news is to do with Cyberpunk 2077, which is the next big thing from CD Projekt Red, who did The Witcher. It's been shown off. There was cinematic trailers at E3. People at E3 got to see a behind closed doors demo of gameplay. Just the other day, they released nearly 40 minutes worth of actual gameplay footage to see, the character creation, how the game's going to play. I haven't sat down and watched it myself, but I've heard great things. apparently what the state the game's in so far is that it is literally playable from start to finish at the minute. So they're pretty far along with the game itself. People estimate that it could come out next year. I'm along the lines with some other people who think it looks more like a 2020 game, and if that's the case, it might be cross-gen with the next generation of systems, whatever they may be. So, but at the state it's in, it is playable from start to finish. What they probably need to do between now and then is just all the fine-tuning and polishing and sorting out like weapons, characters, all this kind of thing. But as I say, at the minute, it is literally, if you were to go to CD Projekt Red Studio, which I believe is in Poland, and play the game, you could probably sit there and play the main game itself from start to finish. So, fans of that company and of who are looking forward to the game, that's for you out there. And then the last piece of, well, it's not really news to be fair. That was the last piece of news, Cyberpunk. But this is just something I thought was interesting. Previously on the podcast, we talked a lot about this game Vampire, which was a oh god, who made it now? It was Don't Nod Entertainment, the guys who make Life is Strange. They released a game called Vampire this year, back in June, which actually came out to a pretty good critical reception. It's been so well received that they're making a fucking TV show about it soon. You can actually buy that now in UK on the UK Amazon store for about £25, which is a really good price. So I thought I'd end this podcast with letting you guys know about a really good deal that I've seen for quite a recent game, and as I say, a very well received game. So if you're interested in the game, you can get it now for PS4 and Xbox One on Amazon, the UK Amazon at least, for $24.99. So go out and get it if it's something you're looking forward to. Myself personally, if it stays that price for a while, I'll pick it up. But at the minute, I'm not willing to spend that much on it. Well, not willing to spend that much on it. I just mean I don't have the funds to spend the kind of expenditures to buy that game right now. But it is one I'm interested in. So I say if the price remains for a while, then I'll pick it up. So. But yes, as always, that is it for this week's podcast. We've got all the news through. We've played through the games. We've done all that good stuff. Thank you all very much for listening. If you're listening on SoundCloud, if you're watching on YouTube and watching this video and me mess up a bunch of times, then thank you for watching. As I said at the start, please just if you like this content, please give it a like. If you're subscribing, please do subscribe. As I say, with the Facebook page, we are very active on there. We do share a lot of stuff that we find on Facebook, like news-wise. So you'd be best going to like that in terms of keeping up with any other bits and pieces you might like. But other than all that, I just have to say, the game, you all just lost it. Which, if you know what that is, Google it. It's a thing. It's a thing, unfortunately. So yeah, you all lost the game, and bye-bye till next week. God, that dog is so fucking cute. Whew, okay. Break over. Back to the podcast. That's fine. I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine.